Hi, this is Pastor Steve with an encouraging word. Have you gone by the Lowe's parking lot lately? I tell you, every time I go by, whether it's to the grocery store or maybe to a restaurant to pick up food, if I go by Lowe's, it's full of cars. Some of you I know are sheltered and have other people pick up food for you or maybe go to the grocery store, but you can certainly understand why this is so. The beautiful sunny days and the extra time people have. It's an opportunity for people to be busy in their yards to create a beautiful one or maybe to plant and care for a fruitful garden. Yes, people are busy planting and weeding, putting in the new and pulling out the old. I know this coronavirus has cast a long shadow over most of our lives. In many ways, being sheltered, we feel very limited, cut off from what we'd like to do. But you know, God's still at work in the world, and especially at work in your life and my life. Now, I say especially at work in our lives because we're the ones who said yes to Jesus. We're the ones who asked him into our heart and then welcomed him into our lives. We're the people who pray, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And how can we expect God's kingdom to come unless we're willing to cooperate and let God's kingdom come into our lives? And so God's at work, even now, even during a pandemic, because you're still growing and changing. You're still becoming the you you're going to be. You know, Jesus compared our lives to a garden, God's kingdom work in our lives. In Luke chapter 8, it tells the story of the sower and the seeds. Talked about the land that was so hard. Now our lives are usually pretty packed, pretty dense, full of things. In fact, it took a coronavirus to make space in our lives, to pull up things and uproot some things. But if we're not careful, we'll just fill it in with other things. Be busy with things that don't really produce anything, but just to keep ourselves busy. Some of that soul was shallow. We know what that's like too. We have great intentions all the time to do things, from cleaning out closets to starting a diet to reading the Bible or maybe spending time in prayer. But when choices come to maybe watch Tiger King or to do something else, well, we tend to do that instead of the thing we intend to do. Our commitment's pretty shallow. Then he talks about soul that's very crowded with so many different things. There needs to be some weeding, some priorities established. But we try to do too many things. I think of the Peter Drucker story where he was finishing up a seminar. And he had spent 3 days with these leaders and spent all the time with them and tell them to take out a sheet of paper and to write down on the paper all the things they intended to do after this conference. Well, they were spending their time writing down line after line. Some finished and working on a second page. They told them to stop, turn the page over. Now write on the back the things they're willing to give up in order to do those other things. Most people took 10 or 15 minutes before they could begin to write because they realized that they're great at adding things on, but not at taking things out. All of us want to do so much, but not willing to give up the things we need to. That's why I thank God's at work in our lives sometimes to plant, but also times to call us to weed, to uproot some things. There's a great verse in the book of James, the first chapter, and it's found on verse 21. It says, therefore, get rid of the stuff in your life that's just junk, the stuff that's helping you at all, holding you back. And get rid of the evil things, the things that take you away from God, that put you in a direction you don't want to go. Get rid of those things. Instead, humbly accept the word planted in you. Make room for the good seed, that which can save you, which can change your life, which can make you whole. God's at work in the world and wants to be at work in your life and my life. He doesn't need a pandemic to do that. Although if there's one taking place, God will use that, work in spite of that, to do things in our life, to change us, to bring healing, to bring wholeness, to help us become the people we want to be and he calls us to be. Every day is an opportunity to change and to grow, to continue on a path or to make new choices, to grow deeper, to grow more mature. All it takes is to cooperate. All it takes is willing to have a little planting, have a little weeding, cooperate with God's work in our lives. today. This is a word of encouragement from Pastor Steve.